Hey everyone, welcome to Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today I'm joined by Johann Bornman. He is the founder of Sagely, which is a wellness platform, which I'm super intrigued to hear about. How are you today, man?
Very well, thank you. Very well. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Luckily you're in South Africa and I'm here, but you've got the better weather continuously, which is nice. But it's all
Well, we're
good.
going in the wrong directions, right? You're getting better and I'm getting
Yeah,
worse.
you're going
So
into winter.
yeah,
Are you? But
exactly.
then
Yeah.
when this is all over, you'll come back. And actually, you might have a year.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So first question, as always, is just tell me about Sagely. What you guys do, who you help, and then we can get into the nitty gritty about how you came up with it and what you do.
Awesome. All right. So we are a financial wellness platform. We essentially help employees build better money habits using enhanced learning techniques, behavioral psychology, and technology. We basically exist because if you look at the research, it says that financial education is pointless. It has zero impact on behavior change.
Wow.
And we address this basically through a variety of different kind of formats and modules and techniques. We go and deliver our content. It's fun, it's engaging. It's not a boring talk about finance or pensions and ISAs. We use a lot of enhanced learning techniques specifically within those sessions, specifically for A, to make sure that the content is remembered, but then B, also actually acted upon. Employees then take out their phones, they build action plans, and we use a lot of behavioral psychology off the back of that to basically get them to take action, inspired and take action. On the kind of carrot side of things, we use gamification. On the stick side, I mean, and the carrot side, we allow employees to build a holistic wellness package that's going to inspire them to take action. So, nutritionists, therapists, sleep coaches, yoga, personal training. And so if they take action with their financial wellness, they basically get this access to their complete wellness package. So nudging them essentially with wellness.
Yeah.
And we then also use a lot of kind of nudging in what we do to help them build those action plans.
Fantastic. How did this come about then? Because you've got a background in, was it product development or finance side of things?
Yeah, so actually, interesting enough, my background is investment management. I grew up in South Africa, as you can tell from my funny accent. Did undergrad and postgrad in investment management. And so back in 2007, if you wanted to work in finance, it was New York, London, or Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Came over to London, worked in investment banking for a year, and absolutely hated it because I wanted to manage money. And I was very lucky enough in 2008, I was basically introduced to a guy that was starting to build an investment business for a bank in the city. He had been running his own hedge fund, and we basically saw the world the same way, had very similar sense of humors. And so he hired me to basically start an investment business from a piece of paper, from scratch. Wow. So we did that for about 6 years, growing the business to about 2.5 billion assets under management. Great experience. Like literally we were doing everything, including actually investing money. So really absolutely loved it, loved markets and how they work and function. And it was obviously very intellectually stimulating, which was very fulfilling. But I kind of came to the conclusion around kind of 2013. So I'd say two deep insights. One was that it wasn't really making the world a better place, and two, that software is eating the world, right? And every company is a technology company, or they will be fairly soon. So I left that job to go to Makers Academy to learn how to do full stack development, because if software is eating the world, you better understand how software works. And was then recruited to go to a boutique investment firm to kind of do the same thing, like, start and build a team for them. Yeah. And then left in 2015 to kind of combine these skill sets of understanding how the financial markets work with this understanding of technology to basically democratize savings investing for the average person. So I was director of product, which you kind of referenced there earlier, for Pan-European Robo-advisor, which to the audience is just a fancy way of saying, like, look, we're going to make investing really simple for you. We're going to make it give you good UX, good UI, and make it very cost effective, so that the average European can start investing. Yeah. Help scale that company and kind of oversaw product and portfolios and sales. And then in March of 2018, stepped out to start Sagely, which is, again, like as I've just explained, kind of combines this overview of behavioral psychology and technology to help people with their finances.
Yeah, for sure. So this is your first baby, let's put it that way, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the previous
on your
two,
own?
yeah, I was part very much of
Yeah.
the team, or either the co-founder or a junior co-founder, or kind of number one hire, first hire. This is completely, absolutely like in the front seat, I'd say, yeah.
How does it feel being the front seat driver, the first man on the road, as per se?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously I've loved the journey. I'm a big believer that life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. So I've absolutely loved the journey. It comes obviously with its ups and downs, as most things do. It's been a hell of a learning curve on top of that. But I don't know, like, I wouldn't change a single thing off the back of it, to be honest with you. Yeah. I mean,
where
like,
you are now if you changed anything.
Absolutely, right? I wouldn't be having this conversation. So.
Exactly. Let's talk about financial well-being then, because I think a lot of people are crap at it, put it bluntly. So, two questions is, why do you think people are bad at their own financial well-being? And do you think now there's going to be more businesses like yourselves that are going to be moving into this space? Because it does seem like it just makes sense, right? It just makes sense. You guys are doing something that is going to help a lot of people, and I love the fact that you're doing that reward scheme in terms of going, actually, you know what? If you get your financial well-being done, you're going to get help with your mental, your fitness, everything else, which just makes complete sense. But why are people crap at their financial well-being in the first place?
Yeah, great question. I think it's a really complex question to answer and has a lot of layers to it. But I mean, the obvious answer that you tend to find is most people find it complex, confusing, and boring, right? Like, those are the things that you hear all the time when you do market research. And we've interviewed hundreds of people across the UK in literally every single city. If you go a bit deeper, though, I think it plays down to kind of a lot of behavioral psychology and psychology itself. Most people don't know that the way you think, feel, and behave with money is set in stone by the time you turn 7 years old. So if you think the environment that you grew up in, your parents, your guardians, those first 7 years are so powerful in kind of driving your behavior and thinking around money. So I think that first and foremost plays a huge role. Secondly, if you look at kind of just the research generally, the UK is considered below average at teaching financial literacy, and it has below average financial literacy. So we have this problem. We're not teaching our kids about it when we grow up. And then sort of the final piece of this puzzle is that it's this country's biggest taboo subject. It outranks sex, politics, and religion, right? So, okay, we have a problem, but we're not talking about it.
Yeah.
And so I think the problem is being tackled in various different ways, and a lot of things are being classified as financial wellness. What you tend to find is that, ironically, it's been a lot of large financial institutions that have, I want to say, innovated, but have branded themselves as financial wellness because it sounds cool, right? We can sell millennials and financial wellness. Exactly. But the point behind all of this is really to kind of push a financial product, right? Kind of that's the USP, and that's how they make money. So this is to highlight, there are a variety of reasons for why we're so bad at it. I think the thing that we focus a lot on is that how do we define it very specifically? We kind of have 5 pillars that we focus on very specifically. And then off the back of that, like, how do we track what we do and report on it? Because we tend to find wellness generally, definitely in the city of London, and most likely outside, has become a bit of a boxing exercise. Companies feel that they can get someone in, whether it's mental health or financial health or whatever it may be, to come and speak for an hour. They've done a job, right? They've ticked a box. And I think a lot of the thing we focus on to say, well, so what? Like, what actually impact is that having? So a lot of what we focus on specifically is this idea, and you talked about, like, a lot of people are bad at it. When we go in, how do we actually show that we've had a metric impact on improving the wellness of the individuals we work with? And that's kind of what we do a lot with the tracking and the nudging, to make sure that, actually, when we started, people didn't have any financial plans. They built them, and these are the percentage of employees that have actually gone and implemented, their financial action plan. So how do we actually report and show that we've had that impact? And I think a way a lot of people aren't that good at it, coming back to your question, is that I don't really care about that. It's more about, I'll give the talk for free because I can sell a financial product off the back of that.
Yeah.
Or I'll give the education piece for free, or whatever you want to define as content for free, because my business model actually relates to selling, a financial product.
Yeah. And how have you dealt with speaking to corporates then? Because obviously you have a service that predominantly you want employees to use. How have corporates and the people you're pitching into spoken about you guys? Have they sort of welcomed you with open arms, or has it been much more of that, oh, so you're going to come in and do a talk?
Yeah. So we had a bit of the latter last year. We found initially we had a lot of conversations with smaller companies that really struggle with kind of the budget piece. And I have a lot of respect and, a sympathy for smaller companies and HR directors that are desperately trying to convince management that they need some sort of a well-being program. I think for us, or our sweet spot really has been, I'd say, SMEs with kind of younger employees and workforces. So, think of the ASOS of the world, the Morgan McKinleys of the world, HarperCollins UK, and a lot of companies that are on the 75 best list work for have also been our clients. So you've got, kind of tech, media, creative industries, people earning kind of decent money, but have absolutely no idea what to do with their finances. So I'd say those sort of companies get it. There's still an aspect of like, okay, we only have budget for X amount of time, or, we have this wellness week, can you come in and do something? And I think that's kind of most likely a challenge I think most kind of wellness providers are dealing with. The way we look and sound is far more like a wellness company rather than a fintech. And we've specifically built a brand like that because we tend to find, it resonates far more with that younger audience. And it kind of comes back to your initial question of, why do we do what we do? It kind of really redefining money as a wellness issue, which we fundamentally believe in, because it is the UK's leading cause of adult stress. So, we've really had a large take up and kind of really good feedback from the employees that we've worked with, as well as the companies, in just kind of the way we look, the way we sound, what we deliver. Generally speaking, though, I definitely think that there is, like I kind of said a few times now, HR manager directors really struggling with this piece of like, okay, I only have so much budget to kind of roll out wellness. And the way we've kind of solved that problem specifically is kind of our route to market and who we engage with. So we go directly through corporate. We also have wellness partners. So these are companies that kind of do the sleep, the nutrition, the yoga, and we do the financial wellness angle. And we also partner with EBC, so employee benefits consultants. So basically kind of, speaking to companies along the vertical stack of that decision maker, as well as the horizontal stack with different providers that they bring in. And the last piece I'll say, obviously, exactly. And the last piece I'll say is like, obviously we focus on financial wellness. That's, our bread and butter. That's what we aim to optimize. But actually, if you look at our offering, we offer generic holistic wellness, right? Because yes, we focus on financial wellness, but actually off the back of that, we're improving the employee's life from a 365 perspective, as you pointed out, by nudging them and giving holistic wellness.
Yeah, brilliant. So you mentioned something earlier about some of the things that you were involved in the past, perhaps weren't fueling that doing good in the world aspect. And now you've sort of gone on the complete flip side of that, and now you're doing something fantastic for the world. How does that feel for you to be running a company that is ultimately doing good?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, it's incredibly rewarding, right? Like, I think at the end of the day, we have investors in the company, so there's obviously an aspect of, right, we need to build a scalable model that generates revenue for the team, right? Absolutely. But also, like, how do we have that impact? And I think probably one of the most rewarding things that I found is that when we've worked with a company or employees within that company, some of the feedback we've gotten and some of the conversation we have had is been, people have said to me, well, this has kind of fundamentally changed my life, and this has had dramatic impact on how I think, feel, and behave with money. And so that's quite powerful. It's hard to kind of obviously measure that in tangible revenue perspective, and it's just important to get that combination right. A big thing that we're doing at the moment, and this is not to plug it all. But in this current climate, it's like how do we give back as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's time for selling. So what are we doing as a company, as an organization, to make sure that we're supporting as many employees, freelancers, companies as we can?
Mm. And are you finding that are you still being heard, or is there a lot of noise in those sort of, because people go in those like fight, flight, or freeze mode? I think people are getting out of the freeze mode now because we're 4-5 weeks in. But when you're saying to people, look, we want to do good, are people listening?
Insightful question. I think you're totally bang on. Like, I think we are still in the freeze mode. I think most likely in about a month from two, companies are going to realize or think about, well, we've had our employees at home for 2 months now, and what are we doing to support them more holistically? A lot of stuff we're doing now is to support our existing clients and some new clients we work with. So I think I don't have a really kind of solid answer for you. I'd say a lukewarm yes, but I feel that companies have been so hard hit at the moment, and the economy's been so hard hit. I think most organizations that I've spoken with that we're helping at the moment, and also a lot of the wellness parts that we have, the conversation they're having is literally, how do we furlough staff? How do we, do pay cuts? And I think there's still that triage moment that a lot of institutions are going through. But I do believe we will go through the cycle eventually. And companies thinking like, right, well, okay, we've gone through that very painful period. How do we now support our employees going forward?
And I think I've said this a couple of times on podcasts recently, but I think after this, it's going to be a lot more employee-driven wellness, because people got home, realized, this is for some people, this is the first time they've worked from home ever. This is the first time people have spent more time with their family, all these different things. So values and beliefs are going to be altered and going to be changed. So I think after this, it's going to have a huge impact on how people want to work.
Which can't agree more. Yeah,
it's a great position for you guys, because you can be like, look, let's help you create that environment that is going to get the best out of your employees, but also the best out of their lives as well, because that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, and also similar to you, I think it's trying to think through the cycle. I think I can't see. I fundamentally think the world is changing in front of our very eyes, and yes, a lot of things will go back to normal, but a lot of things won't. 100%. And therefore, as an organization, as a business, how are we making that impact through the cycle in a world that might look slightly different?
Yeah, for sure. Which kind of brings me on to this question then: is where do you want Sagely to go? Where are you taking it?
Yeah, wow, great question. So, look, we define financial wellness, like I said, through kind of very specific way. If you speak to 10 different companies, you might get 10 different answers. We kind of have 5 metrics. And it's really to hit those 5 metrics for people on the largest scale we can possibly imagine. Now, obviously, that starts in London and the UK to make sure that the companies and employees we deal with can define financial wellness along these 5 metrics, and that we've gone in and changed those metrics from potentially having none of those things, like an emergency fund or a pension, to actually people having those things. So these things also have a very large impact. So as I pointed out earlier, financial wellness or financial concerns is the leading cause of stress in the UK. It has the biggest impact on well-being. So if we can get to a stage where we're actually tangibly impacting kind of these 5 metrics for people, we'll have a dramatic impact on kind of well-being holistically in the country. So, I mean, look, obviously I'm quite biased. We come from the financial wellness angles. These things are quite interrelated. It's not just one pillar. There are all sorts of pillars. But given the proposition we've built and the fact that we can deliver on all those kind of metrics, ideally, like, we're fundamentally changing people's lives at a large scale. Like, that's really the goal.
No, it sounds like you have really built a platform that is doing that, which is nice to see. And it's refreshing that you're going at the angle of financial wellness, because I think it's often glossed over. And then people get frustrated when they're not in the position to do things in their life that they want to do and go in the direction that they want to go. And from all angles, in terms of who that person is, whether they're, a starter in a company all the way up to probably, I'm sure you probably see, near retirement age where people still haven't got their stuff in order, which is crazy in this country, but it just happens all the time. Listen, Johann, one last question, or 2 last questions. Okay, first last question. is how do you, as a founder, keep your own well-being to the best of your ability to be able to lead the team?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a strange answer, which you might like. So I'm first and foremost, it's not a strange answer. So I'm a yogi, so I practice yoga most days. Yeah, quite a strong routine of yoga meditation personally, a daily practice. The strange answer is that cold exposure is kind of my hack. So if anyone knows Hampstead Heath, London, 100%. Yeah. So I kind of got into that in around 2013 before kind of it wasn't really well known. I used to do endurance training, and the guys I used to be train with were big into it. So yeah, a lot of cold exposure. So the colder the better. So if the stress is on, the best thing to do is to go jump in Hampstead Heath during the winter. Go meditate for 10 minutes. It'll change your well-being. I can guarantee you that.
There you
go.
So
yeah, that's kind of how I keep saying.
Dude, I love it. My final question then is something I ask all my guests is if you could give 3 tips to founders to improve their financial well-being right in this situation that we're in, what would the first 3 things you would tell them to do?
Yeah, great question. So this is really hard because a lot of founders like myself are so heavily invested in their own businesses, and therefore you're kind of on the ship, and you've burnt all your other ships. The thing that I would say though is first and foremost, if you can, right now is the best time to look at just kind of some sort of a budget. And I'm not talking about your company budget because I know you have that figured out. I'm talking about your own personal budget. Our minds love order. This is behavioral psychology 101. It thrives when we have a plan. And for most founders, like we've so optimized on our businesses, we don't really often pay attention to our own personal finances. So stop, take a second, sort out some sort of a budget, and assume it's here to stay, basically. This environment's going to be here for a long time. Number 2, if you have any debt, make sure you sort this out. This is an absolute critical time to look at that. And then lastly, if you can, build some sort of an emergency fund, some sort of a rainy day fund, just something that kind of hedges you for, potentially if this gets worse or stays, or kind of for the next downturn. I think so many founders are, so focused on their business, and I'm in the exact same boat, that, we often, like I say, neglect our personal finance. So now is the perfect time just to stop, take a breather, and kind of look at your personal finance as much as you can.
Perfect. I mean, those are 3 amazing points and people that can take away. Yeah, and if anyone wants to get in touch with you, speak to you directly, find more about Sagely, what's the best way for them to do that?
So it's pretty easy to figure out. Like most founders, is my first name at sagely.io, our URL. So it's Johann, Johann at sagely.io. Please get in touch. Happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. Johann, thank you so much for coming on Founders 365. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And thank you for doing something like this in the community and improving people's lives from that financial well-being aspect. I think it's so
Thank you very much for having me, Steven.
Thanks everyone for watching and listening. This has been Founders 365.